Someone was criticizing that, oh, they're hyping her up too much. And this is Caitlin Clark, back to her now. They're hyping her up too much, blah, blah. Thinking, are you effing kidding me? Because if that was a male player, that is all we would hear about,
There's still an
right?
insane double standard. Like I've seen multiple tweets, especially in the beginning of the tournament, how like she was getting annoyed with refs and like they were like, I saw a bunch of tweets that was like, how can you consider this woman like a role model? Like she can barely hold herself together during a game. I'm like, look at any professional NBA player.
I was so burned up. Just that anybody would even be stupid enough to say it, because what kind of an idiot are you, number one?
I have jokes about women's sports like that kind of talk about like why they're better than men's sports. And one of the lines that was like in my newer adaptations of the joke, I say the best part about women's sports that no matter which team loses, women always win.
Oh, I love that. Hi, Julie.
Okay. Hello.
Okay. That was a process today. Why?
Because we need to look consistent.
I know. And camera angles, and we're professionals, so we have to make sure it looks right. Yes.
Because these are on YouTube now.
That's right. We're on video. And it's so funny because now I think about what I'm wearing and I'm thinking, did I wear this for the last episode? Do I have to change up my wardrobe?
I don't remember ever.
Well, now that I just had my fashion podcast with Alicia, I have to pay attention to this stuff. I got to get my game face on in terms of fashion. Anyway, hello. How was your weekend?
It was good. We don't have to.
It's not.
I got a bad haircut. What can I say? I'm
God.
really annoyed. And that's just the bane of my existence right now. Spending a lot of money to hate the hair on my head.
Very upsetting.
Very
You know,
upsetting.
you look exactly the same right now. So that's the good news for you.
Yeah, because it's up. The
I
goal
know,
of
but
getting it
that's
cut was
handy.
that I didn't have to wear it up all the time.
I know, but it is handy when you have it long enough that you can always shoom and get yourself back to yourself, because it looks pretty good right now. Ooh, I like that that clip. That looks great.
Thanks.
Yes. All right. Well, I'm sorry, and I can't even tell you. I wouldn't. You know from firsthand that I can understand hair struggles. So
Yes.
you know that I
I
felt
know.
it. I felt it deeply, and I didn't
You
even want to
did.
say I know how you're feeling, because I don't, it's not about, it's about you in this moment. It's not about me. It's like you spent the money. It's your bad haircut. It was not going to be, I know how you feel because here's what happened to me. Because that's one thing I'm not going to do to you in your life. This one, it's about you and it sucks.
Yeah. And I
And
pulled a Karen this morning and I called the salon company. I was like, I would like a refund. I didn't
oh
even like
no.
ask if it was possible. I just asked. I was like, I would like a refund because the haircut is so bad that I have to go get it fixed somewhere else.
First off, let me just say that is bold, because you don't even like to call to make a doctor's appointment. So that's
No,
massive. How did it
that's
go?
how you know it's bad.
Did you hear back?
No, they just said that the salon's closed because today's Monday. So they're gonna check back tomorrow and we'll see.
Oh my God. Okay. I hope you get some satisfaction.
Yeah, me too.
Sometimes you need to be a Karen.
The craziest thing that happened was yesterday night. I was like really upset about it. I don't want to go on too much of a tangent, but then I got a video of a girl who also got a really bad haircut and she left a bad Google review and then the owner fixed it. So it gave me hope to like call
Mm.
today. I don't, but the thing is, I don't trust them to fix it. But it was crazy because she got the exact same butchered haircut that I did. It's like we both went in asking for the same thing and we both got the shitty outcome.
Ugh, darn it. So
Yeah.
frustrating.
But
Ugh.
anyway, onward.
Onward, I guess, onward. Well, I would have to say this weekend for me, not that you asked, but I'll tell you anyway. I didn't really do a lot. I was you would have been proud of me, because I didn't, a lot of times on the weekend, I end up not working, but I get into my zone
Yeah.
of thinking about work or doing work things or doing tutorials because I have more time to shoot them. I really didn't. I spent the weekend, and anytime I did a video when I was like, oh, I'll make some content, it was for fun, purely for fun. And I said, I'm in my dance TikTok era right now. I'm going,
You really
it's,
are.
I really am. I was thinking about you when I posted last night, and I was thinking, am I going to show up
It
on her
is.
F5, her
Oh, you
FYP
do.
dance? Do I? You really?
Oh, you do. And I'm like, whoa. Helen.
dying.
Like, where are these dances even coming from?
And you don't even see them. Sometimes they just show up on my page. And when I save them, because that one in particular, the Come On Eileen one, I had to do it because when the woman I saw do this dance, and I was just riveted to the screen watching her do this, because she goes from a kick dance to a like a Russian squat jumping up and down dance, and then she gets into an Irish dance, and it was so freaking cool. So I saved it and I said, "Oh, I got to do this." And the caption was practicing for my friend's wedding, and I thought, "I'm going to do this, practicing for Tommy's wedding." And I purposely saved it, and I said I'm going to attack it on the weekend when I have time because I could do it as a workout, and I can barely walk today. My quads. It's not
Oh
even
my
funny.
God.
No, it's not even funny. I swear. Tom's like, "What's wrong?" I said, "I can't move," because I tried it so many times. I must have done that dance 10 times. That's how many.
Oh
And
my
in the
God.
dance itself, there's like, I think 10 squats that you have to do, jump squats. So 10 jump squats times 10 times trying it. It's like I did 100 jump squats yesterday. My legs
That's
are
your
burning.
workout for the day. We went for a
Ooh.
long hike this weekend and my legs were jelly, but that's not the same as doing a TikTok dance too many times.
Oh my gosh. Do you see it on your For You page, or do you see it because you just come and see what I've posted?
My For You page.
Oh my God. That is so funny.
Yeah. Or
So
Steven
sorry.
will see it and be like, "Did you see?" And I'm like, "Oh no, what?"
She's losing it. All right. So this brings me to a funny story that I saved for this podcast because I wanted to tell you this morning when we spoke, and I said, I'm going to save this one for later. But yesterday I was talking to grandma, okay, AKA my mother, and she was talking to me about the wedding and that she needed to get shoes for grandpa for this. And she's like, I want to make sure that he looks good because I don't want to embarrass you. And I said to her, "Mom, I dance on the internet. I really don't think like his shoes are going to embarrass me." And she burst out laughing because it was funny. But I just, what is she even thinking right now? That she's going to embarrass me because of his shoes? And he's in a
Yeah.
wheelchair. No one's going to really see his, well, maybe you'd see his feet because he's in a wheelchair. But oh my God, I was laughing so hard. And we both were chuckling
It's
away
pretty
after that.
hilarious.
It was funny. It was very funny. So that was my little story I was saving for today because I just thought perfect when we when we start talking.
Perfect.
All
Oh
right, what's
my
the subject
goodness.
for today, Jewel?
Today we're gonna talk about women's
I love
sports.
this topic so
Well,
much.
I thought it was be fun to talk about because of the women's March Madness tournament just
Mm-hmm.
ended
Mm-hmm.
and it got so many more views than like anything ever and really big moment for women's sports, which is
So
exciting.
excited.
As people who like, I played sports, you watched a lot of women's sports
Mm,
growing up. So I don't know. I don't really know where the topic's going to take us, but I figured we could just talk about how exciting it is.
yeah, I'll start with some stuff about it, which is I really wanted to post a video that said, um, my husband's green flag is that he prefers to watch women's college basketball versus whatever. And I thought that would be such a great video, but he's so not in the content. And I tried to
Hmm.
explain to him what that meant, and he didn't even, he's like, I don't understand. But then I did. I explained to him what it was and he understood it. But that's what I wanted to post because I just thought that is one thing that I adore about him, that he is such a supporter of women's sports on every level. And I know it comes to the core of when he coached you in basketball. And I think that was such a defining part of his fatherhood years. And even when he talks about it, sometimes he'll say, "Thank you so much" to me.
Mm,
And I know when he says thank you so much, I always know that's what he's talking about because I convinced him to do that. I told
mm,
him, "You need to do this. I know it's going to be hard because you're going to have to get home from, work early in the city and everything, but you need to do this." And he thanks me for that all the time. It was some of the best times
mm.
of his life. Yeah, it almost makes me
Why did you
emotional
why did you tell him he needed to do it?
because at the time there was a coaching drama going on with
Like I feel
CYO
like I
where,
kind of
right, there was some other person that was going to coach, and we knew that if this person coached, they were only going to be playing their star players, aka maybe his daughter and some of the key players. And one of the other moms mentioned it to me because I really wasn't even aware of it, and she mentioned it, and I said, "Gosh, if Tom coached, he would never." be that kind of a coach. I'm going to talk him into coaching. And that's what I told her. And then I went to home that night to him and I said, I was talking to so and so. I won't say her name here, but I was talking to so and so, and she thought you should coach, and I think so too. Like I mentioned to her that you should coach, and she agreed with me. So we did that kind of thing, and he just kind of stopped, and he didn't immediately say that not possible because of work. He just was tried to say, well, what do you kind of commitment do you think it is? And I just kept saying, you got to do it. You just got to do it. And he did. I'm so happy because when I think about that, I helped him have that experience. It makes me feel really good because it was a really positive experience for him. So, number one, I want to say that about the women's sports. Number two, because of that, he is so supportive and I think has a different mindset about women's sports and a different relationship to women in general because of the girls that he coached. And he has a bond with them still to this day. And they all, a lot of them are still in touch with him, which is amazing for a
Me too.
middle school. But for real though, he's still in touch with these girls that still think they're like call him coach and it's like adorable. So I love that. And now we're big, fans. He bought the season tickets for the Liberty. So now we're into going to see the women's games. And he really wanted to do that more than me. I was like, yeah, we'll go to a game or two. That sounds fun. But he's the sports lover and he is the sports lover of women's sports. So he has brought me on board. I don't sports to me either way. I'm not one that's going to stop and put it on TV, but I love it when it's on and I'm watching it whenever he is into it. We are into it. I love it.
Yay.
Yay. It's more
That's
exciting too.
exciting. It is. And there's Steve and I noticed it's like also a bad thing, especially with the watching women's basketball versus like watching the men's basketball tournament. There's so many less commercial breaks during the women's tournament. It
Oh,
is like insane, which is like bad, but then
it's
it's
also
more basketball. It's like more exciting because it's not as doesn't stop because
stop and
it's
start and stop and start.
yeah. And
Oh,
I saw um a funny tweet that was like how the women's basketball tournament is like generating more revenue than the men's tournament. I was like, oh, crazy how misogyny lost these companies out on billions of dollars the last couple years.
oh
Like
my
they
God.
they thought they thought wrong.
Yeah, they thought wrong. It's just unfortunate that they're not getting paid properly, but they're getting so much. I don't know. Tom has all the stats. He knows what the numbers are about like what's the maximum somebody like Caitlin
Yeah.
Clark is going to be able to make versus what she's getting from sponsorships. And it's so upsetting on some level, but it's also I think that we're turning a corner, and I really hope that it goes in the right
Hmm.
direction and continues to go in the right direction because of it, because it's really, really a bummer. It's a
It's a
bummer.
bummer.
My God. And also, I think that all right, Caitlin Clark broke a record recently, and it was an NCAA record of 18 points in a first quarter or something like that. Was that a record in NCAA women's sports or in general? Or like, I don't even know if that was. I should have looked that up before we start talking about it. But do you know?
Hmm. I don't know that specific record. I know she
Be-
broke a lot of them though.
yeah, because I'm just curious. Are we talking about breaking records just in women's sports or in that sport in general? And I'm curious what that is. I should have really done some homework, but maybe we'll look
I mean,
into
I
that
think it
after.
depends on the stat, but
Depends. Yeah.
and they'll usually say it and if it's in NCAA like history across men and women's, or
Hmm.
if it's women's, they'll say it, but it is insane.
It's insane. And she's so amazing. And she's so genuine. She's so genuine. I'm such a fan. I feel like I'm fangirling like you with Taylor Swift, but I'm so impressed by her poise, how she speaks about her success. And it's not like about me, 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 me. It's she's this team player. Just her whole vibe of playing. When somebody misses a shot, she's like clapping them in. She's not like pissed off or anything. I don't know. I'm a huge fan. I'm a Clarkie. I was
That's
watching
good. I
some
mean,
of
I'm a
her
fan
videos on
too.
TikTok. I was like, let's see what she's about off the court. I
Oh my
enjoyed that.
gosh.
Yeah. But I have been very, very, very into it and I love it. I just, yeah. And now we're season ticket holders of the New York Liberty. So we'll be seeing a
Hmm.
lot of women's basketball coming up and we will be able to see her play in person when she's playing professionally now. So yay to that.
Oh my God.
I
That's
know.
exciting.
It is
Yeah,
exciting.
it's exciting to see it finally get all the I don't
Hmm.
know, someone who was a women's sport athlete. It was always like, oh yeah, it'd be cool to be a college athlete, professional athlete. But then in the back of your mind, you're like, well, it's not as popular as men's sports. Like it's not as lucrative, especially like 10, 15 years ago when that was even a
Hmm.
thought bubble.
Do you think, and you see how she's filled the stands and how she's filled, like even just her alone has changed the
Hmm.
sport for her fan base and how it's been a much more high level. I mean, it's unfortunate because the South Carolina team, not unfortunate, but they had a great season. And it was like, not that it was overshadowed, but she was breaking so many records. So it was like Iowa, Iowa, Iowa. And then they got there. So I felt happy that they got their due in the end, that they
Hmm.
got the ultimate win because they had such a great season. And so you can't discount any of that. I really was a little annoyed because dad was playing something on, I don't know if it was on a YouTube video or what, where someone was criticizing that, oh, they're hyping her up too much. And this is Caitlin Clark, back to her now. They're hyping her up too much, blah, blah. Thinking, are you effing kidding me? Because if that was a male player, that is all we would hear about.
Yeah.
You,
There's
I was
still an
so
insane double standard.
I was so burned up. Just that anybody would even be stupid enough to say it, because what kind of an idiot are you? Number one. But it just made me realize, are you kidding me? Like this, if this
Yeah.
was
There's still an
right.
insane double standard. Like I've seen multiple tweets, especially in the beginning of the tournament, how like she was getting annoyed with refs and like they're like I saw a bunch of tweets that was like, how can you consider this woman like a role model? Like she can barely hold herself together during a game. I'm like, look at any professional NBA player, like LeBron, look at Giannis, look at James Harden, look at literally any person, and they will get worked up about calls, and they are still like gods. No one's questioning their character on being a role model. It's so yucky. It's so yucky.
Let us just mention the Super Bowl. Travis Kelsey pushes his coach,
Yeah.
shoves his coach. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, I can't even, let me not even get started on that one.
Yeah, we cannot. Let's not
We
go that
cannot
far.
go there. But it's just the point is that's a very poor double standard. And I don't know. I think slowly women are fixing it. I feel so grateful that that you were born when you were born. I'm so grateful that I was born when I was born because I'm thinking
Mhm.
if I was born in the generation before, even, I don't know. I don't think I would be a happy soul because of what I would have had to conform to.
I know whenever I get those questions that are like, if you could live in a different era or go back to a different time, would you? I'd be like, no. I always say
No.
no because women don't have as many rights.
Yeah, that's a
So why would I
hard
do that?
pass. Hard pass. I know.
Yeah.
One of the things when we were talking about doing an episode of like this or that, and one of the things I was going to ask you was if you could go to if you could time travel, would you go to the past or would you jump to the future? What if you could do one day of time travel, which way would you
Hmm.
go? And I'd be so curious what your answer would be, but I think I know it now. But what would your answer be? Would you go back or would you go forward? And then, then
Forward.
you can be able to jump. Oh, interesting. Okay. Okay, so I also don't like to go back into the past. You would go personally, but if I had to go back for a day, sometimes I think, oh, I would love to go back to a day just with the knowledge I have now.
Hmm.
Sometimes I think about that because to me, going forward now means I'm going to be older. I don't know if I want to see that picture. No, no, I don't know if I want to see that picture. I'd rather just
I feel
live
like
it.
I have a lot of anxiety, so going forward would like make me feel better because I get
Oh,
stressed about the future so much that like going forward, I think would
oh, I
help me
like
feel,
that.
yeah.
I like that. That's good. And I think it also, I think, helps that you're younger since that if you're gonna you can go forward and it's like you're still going to be youthful. If I go forward, if I would jump 10 or 20 years forward, I'm going to be in a different physical state. And I'm going to be still doing the squats that I just did on the Come On Eileen dance. But we know that my knees might eventually give out. So I don't know if I want to go forward. I'll just rather
Oh
take
my
that one day
goodness.
at a time. I'll take it one day
One
at a
day at a
time.
time.
One day at a time, baby.
Ugh.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway,
What other women's sports? do we want to touch on? So basketball is just very timely, so that's a good
This
one.
is very timely. I've been watching a lot. Like we always watch women's tennis
Mm.
and men's tennis. I want to go to more. Oh, we also watch a lot of women's soccer, obviously,
Oh, right, of
because
course. Big soccer fan that
I
you
want
are.
to go to like the LA Galaxy. No, LAFC. That's the one. They ain't whatever. Yeah. I
Well,
get
that'll be
confused
fun.
because I know so many different. There's a lot of different teams here. Um, Galaxy's the men. Why am I getting so confused now? I feel like such a fraud that I'm like blinking.
I know, I feel you. I understand because sometimes you do get scrambled. Like you could be thinking about you you could be thinking about something that you think you know really, really well. And the minute you're put on the spot, like right now, I watched that whole entire game with South Carolina, and I could not possibly tell you what that player's name is who led the charge on that team. She's 6'7". She's stunning. Can't think of her name, and I am annoyed at myself for that. But right now on the spot, it's just not coming to me.
Hmm.
So
Angel City. I was getting there.
yeah, I knew you'd get there. Figured I'd give you time. But
Thanks.
I feel I feel you on that because sometimes no matter how much you listen to something and this player's name over and over, maybe you can Google that for me and let me know what her name is. But over and over again,
Hmm.
she was so amazing. She made all these great plays and she's a force. And I can't
On
I can't think of her name right now. South
on which
Carolina.
team?
The South Carolina. She's like the lead. She's like the center, the tall girl.
Carmen
Yeah.
Cardozo.
Yes. Her. Thank you. How could
You're
I forget her
welcome.
name? Carmen.
But I think it is important to try and watch more women's sports. I'm trying because it's not that it's like an adjustment because I would gladly watch women's sports like any day of the week. It's just not as like advertised or
Yeah.
promoted. So sometimes you don't even know that it's like
Right.
happening. So part of it is just being aware.
Is it even airing
On,
on any of the channels that we see? So that's the other part of it. I mean, it's hard to
I mean, yeah, sometimes it's not. That's like also a problem.
right.
Or it's like on those exclusive sports channels because people don't think it's going to be worth it, which is a lie because it is.
All right, now I'm going to ask you a question that's coming out of left field for you, but I want you to give this a moment of thought because you're very creative. How can women's sports be marketed or I don't want to say rebranded because I don't think that it needs rebranding. I think it just needs to be um, repositioned marketing wise to increase popularity. And how do you think it can be done? Because maybe using the Caitlin Clark example, because she alone, just like Taylor Swift, what she's done for music with certain audiences, right? I mean, Caitlin Clark brought young girls to to these games in droves. She
Hmm.
did. So that might be a hint at what could happen. But if you were, let's say you were in charge of sports marketing for women, do you have any thoughts? Like I'm putting you
Wow,
on the spot,
sports
100%.
marketing for women. It's a broad job. I think I had a joke that I have jokes about women's sports like that kind of talk about like why they're better than men's sports. And one of the lines that was like in my newer adaptations of the joke, I say the best part about women's sports that no matter which team loses, women always win.
Oh, I love that. Yeah,
Which
it's
that could
good.
just be
That
the
could be a
ad campaign right
tagline.
there.
That is the tagline. I think
Yeah.
you should just present it to someone.
So well, let's
I
like put
don't
the head
know.
of
We got to
all
find
women's
someone.
sports on the line. No, but I mean,
I,
it's it's tricky 'cause it's like, okay, we'll give women a platform. We gotta also make people understand that it's just as competitive and intense, like the intensity level is still there, and that men's sports have. It is really interesting because, like, okay, watching men's basketball versus women's basketball in college. Women's basketball, some professional basketball players said it's like women's college basketball is like the purest form of basketball because it's just the sport. It's just like that. And I think it's so accurate because it's like you get the plays, they're running offenses. It's not usually just like one player kind
mm.
of taking the ball and running in a men's sport. I mean,
Yeah. So what's it?
it's
But
just
I don't,
there's less ego of like individualistic and it's more team oriented is what it feels like.
yes.
And that's what's different. And then another thing, like if because I used to play volleyball, men's volleyball versus women's volleyball. Women's volleyball is so much more engaging to watch because like not in a bad way at all, but in men's volleyball, they're spiking the ball so hard that there's barely ever like it's really hard to get a good rally because some if a hitter just kills the ball and the play is over, like it's impossible to get to when they're 2 feet over the net.
Right.
But in
Right.
women's volleyball, there's like more of a rally. There's more of a like gameplay to it. It's just, I think, yeah.
I loved
Uh,
watching volleyball. I was so thankful that you played that sport because I would have never been to a volleyball game if it were not for you playing. I really
yeah.
want to say I could thank my kids for my sports education and for because to understanding sports and for having the opportunity to spectate a sport. So as much as we say, okay, you have kids and you're schlepping around to soccer games and you're schlepping around to, t-ball and baseball and softball and blah blah blah. I believe that I have evolved as a person from doing this. I think that everything that we do as a parent, even though it seems like you're doing it for your kids, you're doing it for your kids, we're kind of also doing it for the experience of what we're learning ourselves. And it's so cool. I would never have been able to enjoy volleyball. And I used to love those games. And
Mhm.
yeah, and then it made me want to play volleyball. So, of course, what was I doing? I've torn my rotator cuff in a women's volleyball league because I want to play volleyball too. Remember that? I was
I
playing in
do.
that league for a little while. So much fun. We had so
Hmm.
much camaraderie, and I did a reach, and that was the end. But I've my rotator cuff is fine. I never had surgery on it, and I work around it now. But
Hmm.
it was such good memories for me. I met some really fun women. It was a different kind of thing to do at night. It wasn't like going to paint and sip or something like that. It was just really teamwork with women, and I never would have done it if I had not watched you play sports in high school. So thank you.
Nice. You're welcome.
It was really good. You inspired me to play sports.
Okay, I have a thought. Going back to how if I was in charge of women's sports marketing. Okay.
Ooh,
First of all, I wouldn't brand everything as, oh, this is women's basketball. It's college basketball. It's college basketball.
yes.
If it's college basketball, okay, we're watching the women's team. If it's college basketball, we're watching the men's team. I hate that like women's teams always need to differentiate that it's the women's teams. But if you just say college basketball, people's baseline is men's, where it should just
Okay.
be both.
I have a thought. So, have you seen this thing where what are the micro feminism things that you do in your
Yeah.
everyday life? Okay. First of all, whatever, if this is a trend or whatever, I'm loving it because it made me think about the things that I do as well. And some people, so for people who don't know who are listening, the idea is that what little things do you do in your day where you prioritize women where typically people would expect it to be a male role. For example, somebody might say, "Oh, I'm seeing the surgeon such and such on such and such a date," and so you might say, "When are you seeing her?" So it's
Hmm.
presuming that the surgeon is a female or the CEO is a female or putting the female's name first in a memo that's when it's listing a bunch of um, people like that. And one of the things was one of the person's micro feminism things was whenever I talk about sports, I always put the word men's in front of the sport
Mm,
instead of, and I loved that. So me and you
yeah.
are going to make a point of talking about sports from now on. Instead of you could say we're not going to say women's or men's, but I think even more of a, I think a wake up is to put men's in front of it. It's
Hmm.
like, okay, if we're going to put women's in front of women's, we're going to put men's in front of men's.
Yeah.
Okay. Fist bump on that. I love it.
Well, we can wrap. I was
This
gonna
has been
say.
great though. This is a really good subject. And I think we have to figure out how we can all come together to improve what's happening.
Hmm. Yeah. I'm definitely gonna make an effort to go to more women's sports. We are talking about how like the Big Ten and the Pac-12. Well, the Pac-12 is coming to the Big Ten, so a lot of Big Ten schools are going to be now in LA playing sports. So I want to go to a lot of like sports games and support the teams in the fall, especially for like volleyball, soccer, basketball, and support on both sides.
I love it. And Tom and I, you can rest assured, we will be supporting the women's NBA. We're going to call it just the NBA, not, but it is called the WNBA.
It's the WNBA.
Friggin-
It should be
But I
called the
think M,
MNBA.
I think so too. Oh my gosh, let's do it. We should start our own trend where it's going to be like, we're going to a men's basketball game. We're going to a men's football game. We're going to a men's
Yeah.
soccer game. I love it. Let's make a pact.
Okay.
Do you like it?
I do.
I do like it. I think so. I think I want to talk about this microfeminism more on another episode and think about some of the other things we can do
Yeah.
too. And
I
this is
think
not to be like rah, rah, burn the bra. That's not the point. The point is how can we make better, make change in the right direction? Like, let's
mhm.
help it. Let's help ourselves.
Yeah. I think just making yourself more aware of like women's sports happening and making people more aware and not thinking it's going to be like different than men's sports because
Right.
it's very similar.
It's
It's very
exciting.
competitive. It's exciting and it's
And sometimes
fun.
women are expressive in a different way, which is also enjoyable to watch as a fellow female. How we sometimes we celebrate. It's great. I know how you one time said what you love about some watching some of the men's sports is when they get emotional and that kind of thing. But think about like the women's. I thought this was really impressive, by the way. When the women's team, when Iowa did not win, I did not see I don't remember seeing one person crying after that game, which was so amazing because a lot of times in men's sports, you'll see the men breaking down, crying,
Hmm.
because you've talked about it,
Yeah.
how that's when you see men emotional. And I was like, yes, girls, go. Because you're right. Even when somebody loses, everybody wins. And that was a perfect demonstration of it because it wasn't like they had to walk off sad. They were incredible. They had an incredible season. So none of them were crying, which was kind of beautiful in a weird way because sometimes you think
Yeah, but they're
women are
still
going to be
allowed
more
to cry.
emotional.
It's a little,
Of course they are.
it's like
You would
frustrating
cry.
because I would have been crying. I cried at the end of
Yes.
CYO.
Yeah. And as we determined on another episode, you cry at things, which is okay. It's okay to cry.
Yeah.
But it was kind of cool that in this particular case, I was like, huh, I didn't even see anybody cry. So that meant that they were happy with their season. And of course, they were sad that they lost, obviously. Duh. That would be dumb if they weren't.
Yeah, things have started to change and it's really exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's really good. So we're going to be going to lots of different types of sports.
And then maybe some men's sports if we feel like it.
Sounds good. Yours truly.
Helen and Julie.
If you enjoyed this fun episode of us talking about sports, we're going to bring you more because we do love to talk about it. We're very big fans of sports for all genders. So we welcome you to tune into us for our next episode. And thank you for being here this week. You know where to find us on our social media. Helen is The Mothership on socials. Julie is Julie Polisi without an E on Julie. And together we are HelloSocialize.com. We also bring you the Socialize podcast twice a week, which is a lot of fun. And this past week we had a fashion episode following up our fashion episode. I like how things are going in tandem. That's kind of fun. So our next episode on the Socialize podcast is going to be, I don't know, may or may not have posted by now. We are going to talk about how to build a newsletter business. And if you're interested in that, tune in to the Socialize podcast and we will see you soon. We'll see you next week. Bye, Julie. Have a good week.
Bye.